when you see these parents and this family taking on this incredible emotional challenge, it's actually a story of hope and inspiration. And the minute we saw their determination and their dedication, we knew this was a story we had to share.
Hi, baby.
In March of 2016, Pam and Chris Andrews received heartbreaking news. Their 6-year-old daughter, Belle, was diagnosed with a fatal genetic disease called Niemann-Pick type C1.
It's never easy to give news of a disease diagnosis that's going to change a family, sometimes just totally turn them upside down. You like that one too?
He said most children live to be between the ages of 12 and 20. He said typically most children die within 10 years after diagnosis.
Not only were we going to lose her, we were going to lose her in the most brutal and awful way possible.
It's an extremely rare disorder. This is a disorder that occurs in well less than 1 in 100,000 births. So it's pretty unlikely.
Chris and I had both inherited an autosomal recessive gene, and Belle had inherited both autosomal recessive genes from both of us. She had a 25% chance of inheriting both of those recessive genes. So instead of getting my husband's beautiful blue eyes, she got both of our recessive genes for NPC1.
As they were trying to process this information, they realized that since this was a genetic condition, their other daughter, Abby, could have the same disease.
He said at the end of the meeting, we need to test Abby right away. She wasn't showing any symptoms. At that time, she didn't have a swollen spleen. We were holding out hope, and really the doctor was holding out hope. He was like, she only has 25% chance of also having it. He called and I answered and I said, do you have the results for Abby? He said, yes, I do. And I said, does she have it? And he said, yes, she does.
There was something out there was somebody out there working on this. And that gave me a lot of hope.
There's a promising new treatment that is currently in trials, and it does have a fairly dramatic effect in terms of prolonging life and reversing symptoms in animal models. We're now studying it in people over there. We have 2 patients who've been in treatment for almost 3 years and 1 who's been in treatment for about 2.5 years, and those 3 patients have not shown any progression in their disease for that period of time.
Chris and I made the decision, let's get the medicine in the girls right away.
You're looking pretty good, I think.
We are very happy.
Yay, okay. All right, that's good.
What I can tell you with Abby, ever since she's started on VTS 270, she's taken off like a rocket.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, sometimes you just have to.
She is talking a lot in 2 languages. She started school, she's running, she's climbing couches, she's jumping on the bed.
It's amazing what Chris and Pam were able to do for their children in such a short amount of time. But they knew that finding an actual cure for this disease would take a much larger effort.
VTS 270, as my husband says, is not a cure. Gene therapy is really what we need to do in order to cure this disease.
We said we're going to create a foundation. We are going to fund research.
We didn't know
Who, how, or when
who,
to
how,
do
or
it.
when. We didn't know the details.
The Andrews named their foundation the Firefly Fund, and they've already begun raising money.
The early data that was coming back from the VTS 270 was really promising. It was remarkable, and I started to feel myself coming out of a place of despair. And I started realizing that we weren't starting at ground zero.
This is a situation where we might be changing the disease. Okay. All right, smile. And for a child neurologist that has had to do that kind of talking with families all these years, this is very exciting.
I believe with every fiber in my body that my girls are going to live and they are going to be happy.